The Galactic Military Academy floated in the darkness of space like a steel mountain. It was old, very old. For thousands of years, warriors from hundreds of different species came here to learn how to fight, how to kill, how to win wars. Every species brought their weapons. They had plasma lances that grew from their arms like extra bones. They grew crystal blades from their own bodies. They were made of living metal that could become any shape they wanted. Every species in the galaxy had something. Claws, fangs, poison, armor, something. When the human female walked through the registration hall, nobody paid attention at first. Humans were rare at the academy. Small creatures from a small planet at the edge of known space. Most aliens had never even seen one in person. Her name was Park. She was 23 years old. She had black hair tied back in a simple style and dark eyes that watched everything carefully. She wore the gray uniform that all new cadets wore. Nothing special, nothing impressive. The scanning officer was unnamed. He stood almost 3 meters tall with 4 arms and eyes like an insect. He had processed thousands of cadets over his long career. He had seen weapons of every kind, blades made of light, guns built into flesh, armor that could stop starship cannons. He pointed his scanner at the human female and waited for the results. Nothing. Checked the scanner. He ran it again, same result. No weapons detected, no implants, no enhancements, no hidden technology, nothing at all. The registration hall slowly became quiet. Other cadets stopped what they were doing. They turned to look. A cadet with blade arms crossed over his chest made a clicking sound that meant laughter. Leaned down until his face was very close to the human. His mandibles opened and closed with irritation. "Human," he said, "where is your weapon?" Looked up at him. She did not step back. She did not look afraid. Her face showed nothing at all. "I do not carry one, instructor," she said. Her voice was calm and clear. More silence, then whispers, then more of that clicking laughter from different parts of the hall. Straightened up, he looked at the human like she was already dead. "Then you have come here to die," he said. "The academy does not graduate cadets who have no weapons. You will fail the first evaluation. Your body will be sent back to your planet. This is a waste of everyone's time." "I understand," instructor said. She did not argue. She did not explain. She simply accepted his words and waited for him to finish. Felt something strange, a small feeling he did not recognize. Later, he would understand it was the first moment of doubt, but right now he just felt annoyed. "Barracks 9, he said, waving his upper right arm toward the door. "Go." Barracks 9 was where the academy put cadets who were expected to fail. The weak ones. The mistakes. The ones whose families had paid money or called in favors to get them admitted even though everyone knew they would not survive. Walked through the corridors alone. Other cadets moved out of her way, but not out of respect. They moved the way people move away from something strange and unpleasant, like she was sick, like failure might be contagious. The barracks was a long room with simple beds on both sides. Only 2 other cadets were there. One was a small, fur-covered creature called his name was, and he was shaking slightly. They were known for talking, not fighting, diplomats, not warriors. The other was unnamed. He was tall and covered in dark scales, but his eyes were clouded, half blind. His own clan had rejected him. Watched the human female enter. He watched her walk to an empty bed and set down her single bag. She moved like she was not worried at all, like she belonged here, like this was exactly where she wanted to be. It made no sense to him. "Human," said, his voice thin and nervous. "That is your name, yes?" "Yes," she said without turning around. "Why did you come here?" asked. He moved a little closer, curiosity stronger than fear. "Your species has nothing, no claws, no armor, no venom, no natural weapons of any kind. The evaluations will kill you. Everyone knows this. So why did you come?" Opened her bag. Inside there were clothes, a small device for writing. A worn book with pages made of actual paper, which was very rare and very old-fashioned. Nothing else. She turned to look at, and she smiled. The smile made Sfur stand up in a way he did not understand. It was a gentle smile, a kind smile, but something about it made him feel like he was standing at the edge of a very deep hole and looking down into darkness. "My grandmother taught me something when I was young," said. "She survived 3 wars on Earth. Do you know what Earth is like?" Shook his head. "It is," said, "everything there wants to kill you. The animals, the weather, the water, the land itself. Humans have no claws, no armor, no venom. We are soft and weak and slow. By every measure, we should have died a long time ago. We should have been eaten by the things with bigger teeth. We should have frozen in the ice ages. We should have drowned in the floods and burned in the fires." She paused. Her dark eyes looked far away for a moment, like she was seeing something could not see. "But we did not die," she continued. "Do you know why?" "No," whispered. Held up her hands, small hands, soft hands, no claws, no weapons. "My grandmother told me everything is a weapon. The rock on the ground, the stick in the forest, the bone of the animal that tried to eat you, everything. You just have to know how to hold it." She turned back to her bag and pulled out the old book. She set it carefully on the small shelf above her bed. "I did not come here to die," she said quietly. "I came here to show them something." "Show them what?" Did not answer. She lay down on her bed and closed her eyes. Stood there for a long time, watching her. The half-blind had been listening from his bed. He said nothing, but his clouded eyes were pointed toward the human, and there was something like interest on his face. Outside in the registration hall was filing his report. Under the section for predicted outcome, he wrote, "Cadet will not survive first evaluation. Recommend minimal resource allocation." He did not know that he would read that report again in 2 weeks. He did not know that he would feel ashamed of every word. He did not know that the small, soft, weaponless human was about to change everything he understood about war. But he would learn. They would all learn. The combat arena was the largest room in the entire academy. It was shaped like a hexagon, with walls that rose 50 meters high. The floor could change. Sometimes it was flat metal. Sometimes it became sand or water or broken rocks. Sometimes parts of it would rise up or fall down. Sometimes the gravity would change, making cadets heavy or light without warning. The rules for the first evaluation were simple. A combat drone would be released into the arena. The drone was a machine built for killing. 6 legs, spinning blade arms, sensors that could track movement faster than any eye could see. The cadet had to survive for 10 minutes, or destroy the drone. Most cadets chose to survive. Destroying the drone was very difficult. The evaluation was not supposed to kill cadets, but it did, sometimes. The academy believed that real learning required real danger. So evaluation was scheduled for the last slot of the day. This was not an accident. The instructors wanted everyone to watch. They wanted the other cadets to see what happened to someone who came to the academy without a weapon. They wanted it to be a lesson. The viewing stands were completely full. Cadets from every species packed into the seats, their eyes and sensors and other organs all pointed at the arena floor. At the observation deck high above, the senior instructors gathered. Was there. So was Commander Vex, an ancient whose body was made of silver liquid metal. Vex had fought in 3 galactic wars. Vex had seen everything. Or so Vex thought. The arena floor was set to metal platforms with gaps between them. Fall into a gap and the cadet would drop into darkness below. The gravity was normal. The lighting was bright. Walked onto the arena floor through the cadet entrance. She wore the same gray uniform she had worn since arriving. No armor, no weapon in her hands, nothing. In the stands was watching. His small body was pressed between 2 larger cadets, and his fur was standing up with anxiety. Beside him, sat very still, His half-blind eyes pointed toward the arena. "She is going to die," someone said behind, a cadet with crystal blades growing from his arms. "Humans are prey animals. This will be quick." Wanted to argue, but he did not know what to say. He did not know why he wanted the human to survive. He just did. On the observation deck, Commander Vex made a sound like metal grinding against metal. It was the way of sighing. "A waste," Vex said. "Humans have clever minds. It is sad to lose one for nothing." "She was warned," replied. "She chose to come anyway." "Yes," Vex said slowly, "she did." The drone was released. It came from a door on the far side of the arena, 6 legs moving in perfect coordination, blade arms spinning so fast they were just circles of silver light. Red sensor eyes locked onto immediately. The drone did not hesitate. It did not study its target. It attacked. It crossed 30 meters in less than 2 seconds. Did not move. The crowd made sounds of shock and disappointment. The human had frozen. Fear had taken her. The drone would cut her apart before she could even scream. But had not frozen. She had been waiting. At the last possible moment she moved. Not fast. Humans were not fast, but precise. She stepped to the side exactly the right distance, and the drone's blade arm passed so close to her neck that it cut a few strands of her black hair. The drone spun, recalculating. It struck again, dropped low, rolling across the metal floor. Her body passed under the drone's legs. Her hand reached out as she rolled, and her fingers found something on the floor. A maintenance panel, part of the arena's construction, metal bolted to the frame. It was not supposed to come loose. It was rated to survive earthquakes. His fingers dug into the edge of the panel. She pulled. The sound was terrible, metal screaming against metal, bolts tearing free from their holes. The panel came up from the floor like it was nothing, and suddenly was standing with 30 kilograms of solid metal in her hands. The arena went completely silent. "What is she doing?" whispered. Swung. The panel hit the drone's sensor array with a sound like thunder. The machine staggered backward, its red eyes flickering. Sparks flew in all directions. The drone tried to recalibrate, tried to find its target again. Did not give it time. She swung again. This time she aimed at the place where the drone's front legs connected to its body. She had studied the Academy's combat drones for 3 months. She knew every part. She knew every weakness. The joint cracked, the leg went loose. The drone fired its emergency weapon. A plasma cutter beam shot out from a hidden port. The beam hit its left shoulder, burning through cloth and skin. The smell of cooked meat filled the arena. Did not stop. She did not scream. She did not even look at the wound. She swung again. And again. And again. Each strike hit a weak point. Each strike did damage. The drone was designed to fight cadets with claws and blades and guns. It was not designed to fight someone using a piece of the arena itself as a club. Its defensive programs had no response to this. 4 minutes and 23 seconds after the evaluation began, the drone collapsed. Its legs folded. Its blade arms stopped spinning. Its red eyes went dark. Dropped the metal panel. It hit the floor with a loud clang that echoed through the silent arena. Blood was running down her left arm. Her shoulder was badly burned, but she stood straight and she looked up at the observation deck with steady eyes. "Evaluation complete," she said. Her voice was calm. Nobody spoke, nobody moved. Then slowly a sound began in the stands, was making it first, a sound of approval, of amazement. That did not have words for what he had just seen, but he had sounds, and he made them as loud as his small body could. Others joined. Not everyone. Many cadets were too shocked to react, but some of them understood. Some of them recognized what had just happened. A human with no weapon had destroyed a combat drone, using a piece of the floor. On the observation deck, Commander Vex turned too. The ancient, liquid metal face showed something it had not shown in centuries: surprise. Vex said, "Tell me about the human." Pulled up the information on his display. Earth, he read, classified as a high gravity, extreme temperatures, dangerous in every region. The dominant species has no natural weapons. They should not have survived evolution, but they did. They did, Vex repeated, and now I want to know how. Below, medical drones descended to treat's wound. She let them work, but her eyes never left the observation deck. She was looking at Commander Vex, and Vex was looking at her. "Move her to elite barracks," Vex ordered. Turned sharply. "Commander, she is from Barracks 9, the protocols." "I am changing the protocols," Vex said. "Put her with the best cadets. Give her access to real training, real equipment, real materials." "Why?" Vex was quiet for a long moment. The liquid metal of their body rippled with something that might have been excitement, or might have been fear. "Because I want to see what she does," Vex said, "when she has something better than a floor panel to work with." In the medical bay, as the drones wrapped her shoulder in healing bandages, closed her eyes and allowed herself a small smile. She had shown them something today. But it was only the beginning. Elite Barracks was different from Barracks 9. The beds were larger and more comfortable. The walls were decorated with the symbols of famous warriors from history. The air smelled clean and fresh, not recycled and stale. Everything about this place said, "You are special. You are the best. You belong here." 12 cadets lived in Elite Barracks. They were the most promising warriors of the entire enrollment year. Some of them came from famous military families. Some of them had already killed enemies in real battles. All of them had natural gifts that made them dangerous: speed, strength, armor, weapons built into their bodies. None of them wanted there. She arrived on the evening of the same day as her evaluation. Her shoulder was wrapped in white bandages, but she walked straight and steady. She carried her single bag over her good shoulder and looked around the barracks with quiet, careful eyes. The other cadets watched her, some with curiosity, some with contempt, one with open anger. His name was, he was a like instructor but younger and larger. His carapace was covered with ritual scars that told the story of his family. His father was a high general who had won many battles, had been trained for war since he could walk. He had never lost a fight. He stood up from his bed and walked toward. Each step was heavy. He stood nearly 3 meters tall, and when he stopped in front of her, she had to bend her neck back to look at his face. "You do not belong here," said. His voice was deep and hard. "One lucky fight does not make you an elite. You have no weapon, no family history, no honor." Set her bag down on the floor. "I do not need your approval to be here, cadet." His upper right hand shot out and grabbed her wrist. His grip was strong enough to crush stone, strong enough to break human bones without trying. "You need my permission to exist in this barracks," he said. "You are prey, you are food, you are nothing." Did not try to pull away. She looked at his hand on her wrist. Then she looked up at his compound eyes. "You are holding my wrist," she said calmly. "That means one of your arms is busy, and you are standing very close to me." Made a clicking sound of confusion. "What are you?" His free hand moved, not to hit, not to push, just to press. 2 fingers found a specific spot on his torso, a small gap where his carapace plates came together, a gap so small that most species could not even see it. His arm went limp. He made a sound of shock and released her wrist, staggering backward. His arm hung uselessly at his side for several seconds before the feeling began to return. "Your species has 37 weak points in your exoskeleton," said. Her voice was still calm, almost friendly. "I have studied all of them. I know where every nerve cluster is located. I know which gaps in your armor lead to important organs." She tilted her head slightly. "Would you like to continue this conversation, or can I find my bed now?" Stared at her. His compound eyes reflected her image 100 times over. Something was changing in his posture, not respect, not yet, but recognition, awareness of danger. "How do you know that?" he demanded. "I studied," said simply. "Humans have no natural weapons, so we learn to understand everything else, every species, every weakness, every pressure point." She paused. "Your father is High General, yes, the hero of the siege." Nodded stiffly. "He lost 300 soldiers in that battle because he did not check the tide patterns of the southern continent. The ocean flooded his ground positions at night. His scouts had not thought to research the local environment." His mandibles clicked with sudden anger. "How dare you speak of my fathers?" "Humans would have checked the tides," interrupted. "We always check. We check everything. Our planet taught us to be afraid of everything, so we study everything." She picked up her bag again. "I am not insulting your father. He is a great warrior, but he is not human. He does not think the way we think." She walked past him toward an empty bed in the corner, did not try to stop her. That night, while most of the barracks was sleeping, another cadet approached his bed. She was a named Saul. Her scales were covered with patterns of glowing ink that displayed data. She was a military intelligence specialist, trained to gather and analyze information. Opened her eyes when sat on the edge of her bed. She had not been sleeping. She had been waiting. "You are interesting, human," said quietly. Her yellow eyes studied his face. "The others think you are a mistake, an accident, something that happened once and will not happen again. But I think differently." "What do you think?" asked. "I think you are a pattern." His data ink flickered with scrolling numbers. "I checked the records. There are 47 humans currently enrolled in military academies across the Galactic Union. Do you know how many have reached elite status?" "Tell me." 43. Let that number hang in the air. The other 4 died, but they did not die running away. They did not die begging for mercy. They died fighting, and they took their enemies with them. Said nothing. "Your species has only been part of the galactic community for 80 years, continued. "You are new, you are strange. Most species do not think about you at all, but I pay attention, I see patterns." She leaned closer. "What are you, Park? What are humans, really?" Was quiet for a long moment. In the darkness of the barracks, the only light came from glowing scales and the distant stars outside the windows. "We are survivors," finally said. "That is all we have ever been." "That is not an answer." "It is the only answer I have." Sat up slowly, her bandaged shoulder pulling slightly. "On Earth we were not the strongest, we were not the fastest. We had no venom, no claws, no armor. Everything was trying to kill us. Animals, weather, disease, each other. Yet you survived." "We survived because we refused to accept death." His voice was soft but certain. "We looked at the things that were killing us and we asked, how can I use that? How can I turn that into a tool? How can I make that work for me instead of against me?" She held up her hands. "These hands have no claws, but they can hold a rock. They can hold a spear. They can hold a gun. They can hold anything." Studied her for a long time. The date ink on her scales was processing rapidly, recording everything. "The other species think humans are weak because you have no natural weapons," said slowly. "But that is wrong, isn't it? You are dangerous precisely because you have no natural weapons. You were forced to become something else." Smiled that strange, gentle smile that made everyone who saw it feel slightly uncomfortable. "Everything is a weapon," she said. "You just have to know how to hold it." She lay back down and closed her eyes. Returned to her own bed, but she did not sleep for a long time. She lay in the darkness, thinking about patterns, thinking about humans, thinking about what it meant to be a species that had no natural advantages except one: the refusal to die. She did not know it yet, but she would see that refusal in action very soon. And it would change everything she believed about strength. The attack came at night. 3 months had passed since joined elite barracks. She had learned much. She had trained hard. The other cadets had slowly begun to accept her, though some still watched her with suspicious eyes, had stopped threatening her. Sometimes he even asked her questions about human tactics, had been moved to elite barracks after his own surprising performance in evaluations. He slept in the bed next to us, and he no longer trembled when he walked through the corridors. Everything was going well. Then the explosion came. The first bomb hit the east wall of elite barracks at 3 in the morning. The sound was like the end of the world. Metal screamed. Glass shattered. Emergency lights flooded the room with angry red color, and alarms began screaming from every direction. Was on her feet before she was fully awake. Years of training on Earth had taught her to move first and think second. Around her, the other cadets were doing the same. His plasma lance extended from his arm, glowing hot. His data ink was flickering rapidly, trying to connect to the Academy's security systems. "Attack," said from his bed. The half-blind was calm. He had survived worse. "Multiple hostiles. I can hear their footsteps, at least 20. "Who would attack the Academy?" asked, his voice high with fear. "The Hollow Creed," answered. Her scales were displaying tactical information. "Extremist group. They believe military academies create dictators. They have been threatening the Academy for years, but they never had the resources to attack." "They have resources now," growled. "Form up, we fight to the corridor end." He stopped. The barracks door had sealed. Emergency lockdown. They were trapped inside. A second explosion. This one hit the ceiling. Metal beams fell. Dust and smoke filled the air. Could barely see. "The door is locked from outside," reported. "Someone disabled the manual override. We cannot get out." "Then we make our own exit," said. She moved through the chaos to her bed. Beside it was a standard Academy desk. Metal frame. Metal surface. Bolted to the floor with industrial fasteners designed to survive station disasters. The desk weighed at least 200 kilograms. "Grab the edge." "Human, what are you doing?" demanded. Did not answer. She set her feet, she took a breath, and she pulled. The sound was horrible. Metal bending. Bolts tearing from the floor. His muscles strained so hard that blood vessels burst in her left eye. Red spread across the white. Pain shot through her arms, her back, her legs. Her body was not designed for this. No human body was designed for this. But she did not stop. The desk came free from the floor with a final scream of tortured metal. Held it in her hands for one moment, shaking with effort. Then she began to fold it. The other cadets watched in silent horror as the human bent 200 kilograms of reinforced steel with her bare hands. She folded it once, twice. Her hands were bleeding. Her arms were shaking. Something tore in her shoulder, the old wound from her first evaluation reopening. But she did not stop. When she was done, she held a massive blade, 2 meters long, rough and ugly with edges where the metal had sheared. Not elegant, not beautiful, but deadly. Sfur was standing straight up. "Your hands." "I know," she said. Her voice was tight with pain. "Break the door." Hesitated for only a moment. Then he stepped forward and drove his plasma lance into the sealed door. Once, twice, 3 times. The metal glowed orange, then white. Then it fell apart. Enemies waited in the corridor. 3 soldiers in black armor, carrying weapons that hummed with deadly energy. They had been waiting for the cadets to try to escape. They were not expecting what came through the door. Moved first. She could not lift the blade anymore. Her arms had no strength left for that. So she dragged it behind her, letting its weight build momentum. Then she swung from the hip, using her whole body to drive the massive steel weapon forward. The first soldier never had time to react. The crude blade hit him like a falling building. He flew backward and did not get up. The second soldier fired. The energy beam hit in the side, burning through her uniform. She stumbled but did not fall. She swung again. The soldier raised his weapon to block, and the blade cut through it like paper and continued into his chest. The third soldier tried to run. His plasma lance caught him in the back. More enemies in the corridor kept moving forward. Each step was harder than the last. Each swing of the blade cost her something. Blood ran down her arms, her side, her face. Her muscles were tearing themselves apart from the strain. But she did not stop. The other cadets followed her. On her right, his lance burning through anyone who got too close. Behind, directing them with tactical information from her scales. Despite his blindness, fighting with sound and instinct. Small and terrified, but refusing to abandon his friend. They pushed through corridor after corridor. Bodies fell behind them. The Hollow Creed soldiers had expected frightened students. They had not expected a human with a folded desk leading a squad of elite cadets through their lines. Finally, they reached the command center. The last 5 Hollow Creed soldiers had barricaded themselves inside. They had a hostage, instructor, beaten and tied to a chair. The leader was with scars covering half his face. He laughed when he saw through the broken door. "This is your champion," he said, "a broken human carrying a piece of garbage." Stood in the doorway, she could barely hold the blade anymore. Her arms hung limp at her sides, the massive weapon dragging on the floor behind her. Her left eye was completely red with blood. Burns covered her body. She should have been unconscious. She should have been dead. "This is not garbage," she said. Her voice was quiet but steady. "This was my desk. I sat at it for 3 months. I wrote letters home on it. I studied your anatomy on it." She lifted the blade. It took everything she had. Her body screamed at her to stop. Every nerve, every muscle, every cell was begging her to fall down and rest. She did not listen. "Now I am going to kill you with it." She charged. The leader fired his weapon. The beam hit her in the leg. She stumbled. She did not stop. She kept coming. He fired again. The beam hit her arm. The blade wavered. She kept coming. He tried to fire a third time. She was already there. The blade came down. When it was over, 5 Hollow Creed soldiers were dead. Instructor was free, and finally allowed herself to fall. Caught her before she hit the ground. "Human," he said. His voice was strange, rough. "Stay awake. Medical teams are coming." Looked up at him with her one clear eye. She smiled that strange, gentle smile. "Did I show them?" she whispered. "Did they see?" "They saw," said. Everyone saw. Closed her eyes. Behind them was crying quietly. Was staring at the scene with her mouth open. Stood silent. His clouded eyes pointed toward the human who had led them through fire and death with nothing but a piece of furniture. And in the security center, where the battle had been recorded by emergency cameras, Commander Vex watched the footage for the 3rd time. The ancient said nothing. There were no words for what they had just witnessed. Spent 6 weeks in the medical bay. The doctors were amazed that she was alive at all. Her arms had been destroyed, muscles torn, tendons shredded, bones cracked from the strain of lifting and swinging that impossible blade. Her left eye had to be from genetic samples. 3 ribs were broken. Her spine had fractures in 4 places. The burns from enemy weapons had damaged organs that should not have survived. "Human bodies are strange," one doctor told Commander Vex during a briefing. "They are not designed for this kind of stress. When the body takes damage like this, it sends signals to the brain: stop, shut down, sleep. These signals are very strong. They are supposed to protect the organism from destroying itself." "But she did not stop," Vex said. "No," the doctor's voice was filled with confusion and something like fear. "She overrode the signals. 17 times during the battle her body tried to force her unconscious. 17 times she refused. We do not understand how. No other species can do this." Vex visited on the 37th day of her recovery. By then, she could sit up in bed. Her arms were wrapped in regeneration sleeves, slowly rebuilding. Her new eye was still adjusting to light, but she was awake and alert when the ancient entered her room. "Commander," said. She tried to bow her head respectfully, but her body would not cooperate. "Rest," Vex said. The liquid metal of their body formed into a chair, and they sat beside her bed. "I did not come for formalities. I came to understand." "Understand what, Commander?" "You." Vex's silver face showed no expression. Faces could not show expression, but their voice carried something heavy, something old. "I have lived for 800 years. I have commanded soldiers from every major species in the Galactic Union. I have seen strength that could crack planets, speed that could outrun light, power beyond imagination." They paused. "But I have never seen what you did." Was quiet for a moment. Outside her window, stars drifted slowly past. The Academy station continued its endless orbit around a distant sun. "What did I do, Commander?" she asked finally. "You refused to break." Vex leaned forward. "I reviewed the medical data. I watched every second of the battle footage. Your body gave 17 separate shutdown commands. Your nerves told you to stop. Your muscles told you to stop. Your brain tried to force you to sleep, to heal, to survive by stopping. And every single time you said no." Looked at her wrapped hands. She could not feel them yet. The nerves were still dead. "Humans call it willpower," she said quietly, "or stubbornness. It depends on who you ask." "It is terrifying," Vex replied. There was no judgment in the word, just truth. "Do you understand what you represent, Park? Your species has no claws, no armor, no venom, no natural weapons of any kind. You are soft and slow and fragile. By every measure of evolution, you should have died long ago." "But we did not." "But you did not." Vex's body rippled with something that might have been a shiver. "And now I understand why. The Galactic Union has classified Earth as a restricted world. Did you know that?" Shook her head. "It is listed as too dangerous to colonize, too valuable to ignore. We send researchers, but they must follow strict safety rules. Many do not come back." Vex stood, their liquid form flowing upward. "I always thought the danger was the planet itself, the animals, the weather, the diseases. Now I know the truth." "What truth?" Vex turned to look at her. 800 years of experience looked out from that silver face. "The danger is not the planet. The danger is what the planet created. The danger is humans." After Vex left, lay alone in the quiet of the medical bay, she thought about many things. She thought about her grandmother, who had lived through 3 wars on Earth, who had taught her that everything was a weapon, who had survived things that should have killed her, simply because she refused to die. She thought about her desk, which now sat in the Academy's Hall of Honor. They had cleaned it and mounted it on a pedestal. A small plaque beneath it read, "The Human Weapon." She thought about who visited her every day. He never called her weak anymore. He asked her questions about human history, human tactics, human philosophy. He was trying to understand. She thought about who was now teaching other cadets about what he called human thinking. The small had found his purpose not in fighting, but in explaining. She thought about who had written a report about the battle that was now required reading for all Academy intelligence officers. The report was titled, "Humans, a Threat Assessment." And she thought about what Vex had said. Only humans could override their own bodies. Only humans could tear themselves apart to protect others. Only humans could look at death and say no. But that was not quite right, decided. Every species had individuals who could sacrifice themselves. Every species had heroes. What made humans different was not the ability to do it. What made humans different was the expectation. Humans expected each other to be willing to suffer, to break, to die. They trained for it. They prepared for it. They told stories about it to their children. It was built into their culture, their history, their very identity. Other species fought to survive. Humans fought to win, and there was a difference. Survival meant running when you could not win. Victory meant never running at all. That was the human weapon. Not strength, humans were weak. Not speed, humans were slow. Not technology, other species had better machines. The human weapon was choice. The ability to look at impossible odds, at certain death, at pain beyond imagination, and choose to keep fighting anyway. Not because the body allowed it, but because the mind demanded it. Closed her eyes. When she graduated, and she would graduate, the doctors had already promised her full recovery. She would make sure the galaxy understood. Humans did not need to carry weapons. They did not need claws or fangs or armor. Everything around them was already a weapon. Every rock, every stick, every piece of furniture, every tool ever made by any species. They just had to choose to use it. And humans always chose to fight. 1 year later, Park graduated from the Galactic Military Academy with the highest combat scores in the institution's history. She was assigned to a special unit that mixed species from across the Union, the first of its kind. Volunteered to serve under her command. So did Saul. So did. And on the day she received her officer's insignia, Commander Vex gave her one final piece of advice. The galaxy will learn to fear humans, Vex said. You will make sure of that, but remember, fear is not respect, and respect is not friendship. If your species wants to truly belong among the stars, you must be more than weapons. Nodded slowly. I understand, Commander. Do you? Thought about her grandmother again. About the old woman who had survived 3 wars but had spent her final years planting flowers and teaching children to read. My grandmother used to say something else, She said, knowing how to fight is important, but knowing when not to fight is more important. Vex was silent for a long moment. Then the ancient did something unexpected. They bowed. Perhaps, Vex said quietly, there is hope for your species after all. Returned the bow. Then she walked out of the academy and into the stars, ready to show the galaxy what humans really were. Not monsters. Not weapons. Just survivors. Survivors who would do anything, absolutely anything, to protect the people they loved. And that, in the end, was the most dangerous thing of all.